A reading from the Gospel of Mark. From there, Jesus set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know he was there. Yet he could not escape notice, but a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile, of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon gone. This famous story of the Syrophoenician woman, this from the Gospel of Mark. It is a great story of a change in the direction of Jesus' ministry, and much has been made of this story. Syrophoenician woman is a hero to many. The story today reminds me, though, of a story in my own life from just a number of years ago when I was coming to Chicago from Cleveland as a trailing spouse and was contemplating in what direction my vocation might go once I got here to Chicago. I had had very rich experiences of both parish ministry and community organizing, and I was contemplating which of those paths I might be more drawn to, and found myself at a conference full of religious leaders who were at a community organizing training for religious leaders. And in talking with one of my companions at that conference, I was going through my pros and cons list. And at one point, he just looked at me and he said, "Sounds to me like you need to get in God's face." It sort of stopped me from my perseverating about my pros and cons. And he said, "Sounds like you need to get in God's face with this question." And then we went on and had our lunch and carried on with life. But I took that away from that conference, and I did, in fact, lay before God the question in that way and say, "Look, I need something from you. I need some sort of direction, some sort of sign of what the best path is for me from this point forward." And that simple declaration from my companion in ministry, that invitation to take this very ordinary thing, in a way, just my life and my vocational direction, and to get in God's face about it, felt a little impertinent, but then that's what people thought about the Syrophoenician woman as well. Who was this woman, this outsider, not only to come before Jesus, who was trying to get away from people, but also to insist and persist even after he really gave her a pretty devastating dismissal. She got in God's face. She got in the face of this incredible healer, Jesus, who she knew could heal her daughter. And she, out of her desperation for her daughter, got in God's face. I, in my true wondering and sense of seeking more clarity about my vocational direction, did indeed in my prayer life decide to get in God's face and say, "You decide, you make it known, and you show me what the next thing is for me." And I wonder if you have anything like that in your own life that's either working in you now or comes up from time to time, that you might feel empowered. The Syrophoenician woman was not somebody who was authorized to be speaking to Jesus. And if you're like many people I know and myself through a good portion of my life, you may not feel I don't have the question formed correctly. I don't know how to pray exactly right. I don't know how to translate these ultimate concerns in my life into the right formula to qualify as prayer. And to that, all I simply would say to you is, God understands us, and you don't need a particular set of words or a particular format of prayer. Like the Syrophoenician woman, you can simply come to God, come to Jesus and say, "I know you have what I need," whether it's healing, whether it's help in direction, or any other question of ultimate importance in your life. I would invite you, as my colleague at that conference invited me, if you find yourself stuck adrift and restless, hopeless, desperate, any of those things, you always have the opportunity to get in God's face with what is on your heart. God can take it. God's really big. So getting in God's face isn't a problem for God. And so I would encourage you to take your encouragement from the Syrophoenician woman, whose story is still told all these decades and centuries and millennia later. She is a good exemplar to you and me about what it means to simply come to God with what you need and to ask God to respond. And may you take that discernment with you today. If there's any searching your own heart and life, if there's something at work in you now or something that comes up in the future, I hope you'll remember her example and the words of my companion. If things have come to a place where you just don't have any other option, it might be time for you to get in God's face. And may God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.